15 years ago, while he was working on his doctorate, Jivanildo Miranda spent over a year camping among the dunes. This Brazilian biologist and reptile expert wrote the first in-depth study of the fauna of the Lençóis Maranhenses. The scientist has done truly pioneering work, devoting his life to the study of this little understood but fascinating region. Since then, the poor student has become a respected academic, more than happy to guide his students barefoot through the dunes and share his passion for this magical place. For Joanna and Romazia, every day spent in Jivanildo's company is yet another unique chance to improve their understanding of this little-known ecosystem.
We are in the very heart of a huge transition of biomes in Brazil. We are in the transition of the Amazon forest, Cerrado, which is a savanna-like vegetation, and Caatinga, with a type of arid biome that we have here in Brazil. And this is why here in this park we have a mix of species from those different type of biomes, and this make it very, very special, very particular. And besides, we have an additional transition, that is the transition from the sea to the inland under strong influence of Cerrado vegetation. Apparently, this land could look like a dead land. No life around here, only dead logs. But if you look carefully, you are going to have amazing surprise. There are a lot of life hidden in this area. This area we have two species of lizard that can be found. It's one lizard, the Echinemidophorus genus. It's a lizard that's adapted to dig holes, and then it can thermoregulate when it's too hot for them. They can just shout here. It's Tropidurus. It's a lizard that's not able for this digging stuff, but it's able to hidden and control its temperature, just looking for some shelters under logs and little pieces of materials that are around the park. There are a lot of life as well. We have a turtle that probably is active now because it's active only during the rainy season. And we have also tadpoles of many frogs that reproduce in this type of environment. And we have fish.
Despite the presence of water, vegetation is still rare among the dunes. It's sand which predominates. Yet Jivanildo knows that life, albeit on a small scale and with a fragile hold, does hide in and around these lakes.
There are a lot of mystery, because most species are poorly studied, and I'm pretty sure that as we increase our knowledge about them, we are going to find out amazing and very interesting stories to tell.
The scientist's research has brought to light an unexpected particularity about this mostly mineral environment, the presence of a large number of aquatic creatures. Pleurodema diplolister, a small frog no bigger than a fingernail, has particularly caught his attention. It takes a real expert to spot this minuscule amphibian in its natural environment. It divides its time between the sand, into which it burrows in order to protect itself from the heat, and the lakes where it finds its food. But these tiny batrachians rarely venture into deep water in this season, because one of their main predators will most likely be found there, hunting. Rare and protected, the peninga is a turtle with an insatiable appetite. The biologist knows that during the wet season, the turtle spends most of its day underwater, hunting down its prey. Its diet consists mostly of small fish, insect larvae, and tadpoles. It is constantly hunting for food because it must store the maximum amount of energy and then reproduce before the water is all gone. The scientist has noticed that a lot of the denizens of these temporary lakes live a speeded-up life, having only a few months in which to accomplish their biological life cycle. Jivanildo Miranda knows that the least of them is as important a part of the ecosystem as any other. He considers even the most minuscule creature of this environment worthy of study. Late in the afternoon, when the sun's rays are less fierce, the Peninga changes lakes in search of new prey. At the center of the national park is an oasis of greenery surrounded by dunes, which the inhabitants call an island, Queimada dos Britos. It's the only place in this part of the desert which offers a little shade, so it's here that the professor and his students have decided to bed down for the night. But to get there, they must first cross the Rio Negro, the park's only permanent river. Without it, there will be no oasis or village at the heart of the dunes. Visitors are rare here, but always given a warm welcome.
Hello, Raimundo. How are you?
Very well, thanks.
Do you remember me?
Of course I do.
You know who I am?
The frog catcher.
These are my students, Hoyana and Romatio.
Pleased to meet you.
Raimundo, do you have somewhere we can put the horses?
Yes, just behind.
Thanks. See you in a bit.
Raimundo is the patriarch of the village. His grandfather, Zé Brito, was the first person to settle in this place almost 100 years ago. At the time, his native region to the east of Maranhão was suffering a terrible drought. So the nomadic fisherman traveled up the coast by boat until he discovered the mouth of the Rio Negro. Amazed to find so much fresh water surging out of the desert, he worked his way upstream, discovered this oasis, and decided to settle here. Zé Brito and his family were the very first inhabitants of the Lençóis Maranhenses. And thus was born Queimada dos Britos, the hamlet named after the family.
What has changed the most, in your opinion?
The dunes, which are encroaching on us more and more.
Have they buried homes?
Yes, mine, my first house. The dunes took it from me.
So the dunes are encroaching more than they used to?
That's right.
Because it rains less?
Yes, less and less.
But it's rained a lot this year, hasn't it?
Yes, it's rained, thank God.
Raimundo, has the work that the people do here changed too?
There's more livestock farming.
Twice what there used to be?
Yes, there's more than twice as much. We've had to stop growing crops because of the dunes. We advise people not to grow crops in order to slow down the dunes' advance.
I see. You're trying to hold back the constant encroachment of the dunes.
That's right.
Crop farming and livestock are, in theory, forbidden in the park because they destroy the fragile vegetation which keeps the dunes steady. Yet the authorities show a certain amount of tolerance for these activities because they have neither the means nor the will to rehouse families which have lived in the park for generations. The year Jivanildo spent studying the park taught him that a large part of its fauna can only be observed at night. But nocturnal hunting has its dangers. Although rare, a few poisonous snakes and spiders live in these bushes.
To carry out field work during the night, it's really important for me. Otherwise, we are not going to be able to record all the species that live in this park, because many of them are very active only during the night.
This is a kuru toad, native to the Lençóis Maranhenses. Rhinella shimi. It has venom glands on its rear limbs and by its cloaca, so its skin is toxic. It's a close relative of Rhinella marina, an invasive species of toad which has caused lots of problems in Australia. It's a common toad in the Lençóis Maranhenses, found in the restingas among the trees and shrubs, as well as in the dunes. You have to look very closely to see it because of its coloration. It's perfectly camouflaged for this kind of environment. Go that way. Be careful, it's very quick. It'll try and get away. Take care not to harm the vegetation. It's not poisonous, but it's very quick. This is a Tamnodynastes hippoconia, one of the most common snakes in the park. People are very frightened of this species because of its aggressive behavior. It acts in a very threatening way, darting with its head and trying to bite. This makes it appear really dangerous. It has vertical pupils because it's a nocturnal creature. It's also a very interesting snake because it's a viviparous species, meaning that it doesn't lay eggs, but gives birth to live young. The local name for it is goipeba, and people are really frightened of it. They think it's deadly poisonous, but that simply isn't so.